come crush under the pressure. For instance, when the ship is sinking and the captain jumps the ship, that's not leadership, right? So this is what I do, especially when you're doing social work. Social work is even more difficult than being a business leader.
See, you have spent over 2 decades leading initiatives aimed at combating anti-Muslim bias.
Which is based on fear and falsehood at the same time. So falsehood and fear are huge motivators for people. So then I was standing in the front lawn of my house. I must have been upset, and my dad came over to me.
So do you see this spiritual intelligence is effective?
Politicians weaponizing this against people, and spiritual intelligence, comes in really handy at times like this.
To join in your vision for change.
Leadership is staying with the ship, making sure everybody else is safe. And that is leadership. So yeah, it's better for you to, if you can't say anything good, then just remain silent.
So folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording. And we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak. And here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. And we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host, Navin Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. Daisy Khan is a prominent leader in community engagement and education within the American Muslim community with over 25 years of experience. And she is the founder of WISE, which stands for Women's Islamic Initiative in Spirituality and Equality, dedicated to peace building and gender equality. Known for her work in combating anti-Muslim bias and promoting interfaith dialogue, Daisy is also the author of Born with Wings, which details her journey into leadership. And as we prepare to delve into our conversation on the topic at hand, leading with vision, Daisy Khan on transforming communities and combating extremism. Here's an exciting twist. Let us tickle her brain first. So Daisy, get ready for a rapid fire round of random words. I'll mention a few. Would love to
All right, sure.
Would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response. So here comes the first.
All right, okay.
Yeah, here comes the first word. Curiosity.
Experimenting.
Invention.
Ideas.
Future.
Hope.
Book.
Knowledge.
Universe.
Unity.
Wow. Leadership.
Shepherding, my favorite.
Role model.
Easy. Examples.
Nice. Success.
Okay, great.
Resilience.
Resilience. Get up.
Wow. Justice.
The other side of justice. Mercy.
Okay. Compassion.
My favorite. Womb.
And the last one is
the mother's womb. The mother's womb.
Wow, love it. And the last one is unity.
Oneness.
Awesome. And all those answers are spot on, and I loved your responses. Thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round. There is one more rapid fire round, so stay tuned till the end of the episode. Daisy, hearty welcome to TGV. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much. Well, I'm doing very well. The weather is nice. That's good these days. If you have nice weather, that's a good day.
Yeah. Good to know that. And let's begin with your success mantra. So please share with us the top 3 things that have contributed to your success so far.
I would say that I am an ideas person. I love ideas. So I have been experimenting with new ideas, and which then, takes me into a completely different territory, an unknown territory. And so I'm willing to take a risk and chart into new territories that are unknown to me. I find that exciting. And then I think I was always a born leader. So I don't mind taking a lead and convincing others to follow me. So this is the three things that have contributed to my success in the work that I'm doing, and also mobilizing others
Wow.
to come along. Like
Yeah.
a Pied Piper, the Pied Piper.
Right.
Come along, just join me. Yeah.
I love it. I love all the three. I think experimenting and coming up with new ideas, taking risks, and also being a leader, right? It makes a lot of difference as such. And that's why you are
Yeah.
standing tall as a leader there, and where many people are looking up to you. That's wonderful to know, Daisy. And can you describe a time when you had to pivot your leadership strategy in response to some unexpected challenges?
Wow. So this is where the rubber meets the road, as we say in America. There is nothing like a controversy to test your leadership. And great leaders, can come crush under the pressure. For instance, when the ship is sinking and the captain jumps the ship, that's not leadership, right? Leadership is staying with the ship, making sure everybody else is safe, and that is leadership. So yeah, I did have a situation. I tried to build a community center for my community because our community had come of age, and then there was real opposition to it, because people, thought that we should not build a community center in the location that we wanted to build it in. And out of nowhere, this opposition came. There were people protesting and calling us names, and you know, basically misunderstanding the intent of what we were trying to do. And it was a community center. So I learned at that time the way to get around these unexpected challenges, which many people face in their lives, is to maintain a very good disposition, even with your opponents. And, show affection to people, because kindness warms the heart. And this is what I did. I invited my opponents to the table. I sat down, I heard what they had to say. I showed them the human side of who I was. And I think that I think I may have disarmed them. So this is what I do, especially when you're doing social work.
Yeah.
Social work is even more difficult than being a business leader. And in social work, you have to deal with the public. So I always maintain a good disposition with your opponents, and be kind, and be, because you are interacting with other human beings, and that I find is the way I have been able to respond to unexpected challenges.
Wow. I loved your statement. You're responding to human beings, right? So, which means empathy part comes into picture. And yep, loved
Yep.
what you have said. Wonderful. And Daisy, you have spent over 2 decades leading initiatives aimed at combating anti-Muslim bias and promoting gender equality. So, what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced in transforming communities, and how have you navigated them?
Yeah. So the biggest challenge is that most of these biases, whether they're biases against women or they're biases against any minority group, they really stem from ignorance. And they stem from ignorance, which is usually fanned by somebody who has a political agenda. And that ignorance leads to the othering of people, meaning I am better than you, and I do not see myself in you. In other words, you're no longer at the same human level that I'm at.
Mhm.
And that narrative then creates the othering, which is based on fear and falsehood at the same time. So falsehood and fear are huge motivators for people. So then this contributes to the vicious cycle of dehumanizing the other and blaming an entire group for the actions of one, and which it's very hard then to go against that, because the we have to counter this dehumanizing process by educating people, right? Respecting one another, finding common ground. And that takes a lot of work because you are trying to transform human beings and take the irrational fear that people have in their hearts out of ignorance.
Yeah, got it. And let's switch gears and talk about the role of spiritual intelligence, right? So, do you
Yeah.
think is spiritual intelligence is effective in terms of leading effectively and community transformation? What role does it play?
Absolutely. I think that I have been more effective in my work because the work that I do is hard hitting work.
Mhm.
These are things that are in the news, and politicians weaponizing this against people. And spiritual intelligence, comes in really handy at times like this. So, my religion teaches me that if you have to influence others, you have to stay calm. you know, Teasing, calling people's names. And we have a presidential candidate here in the United States who's always calling other people by their names, you know, uh, and that creates anger amongst people who are being called names, right? Name
Mhm.
calling, teasing. Um, and so on the flip side, what you have to do is not only stay calm, but use forgiveness, which is an inner strength. And if you forgive your opponents, and you can rid their heart of hatred. So that's one. Then, second is to speak gently, because toxic behavior can only be responded with soft speech. I've noticed when people are yelling at me and screaming at me and saying things about me and my community and my religion, and I'm just sitting there softly speaking with kindness and patience, that opens a door for peace. You know, it cracks the door open. Sometimes you have to remain silent. That's the ultimate wisdom. And because it's better for you to, if you can't say anything good, then just remain silent because it's a practical way of avoiding conflict. And then finally, when things are clearly out of your control and you are up against people who have a completely different agenda and are not willing to even communicate with you, and you see that their intention is not to have a constructive conversation, then disengage
Yeah.
and walk away and seek companionship with those who are there to support your cause. And these are the four things that I use in my life in moments that are spiritually based. Because when they're spiritually based, they are based in a value that is very deep, and it's something that does not derail you easily because
Yeah,
you know that what you're doing is for the ultimate good.
got it. And how does your memoir, Born with Wings, reflect your journey and experiences in advocating for women's rights?
Well, my whole journey began literally when I was 3 years old. I was the third of three daughters, and people were not very happy. And I used to get teased a lot. And I was standing in the front lawn of my house. I must have been upset. And my dad came over to me and he gave me a pair of boxing gloves. And he was dangling them in front of me. And I was a little girl. And the box gloves were almost as big as me. And years later, I asked my dad if he had given me those boxing gloves, and he said yes. And I said, "Why?" He said, "Because you were a third of three daughters, and I wanted to teach you how to defend yourself, and if necessary, punch them back." That's the world I came into. And my father taught me, men are very important for women, especially fathers and brothers, to defend their sisters and to defend their, wives and daughters. And there is nothing more powerful than a father giving you confidence at a young age. And so I feel like I have been in many arenas since then. Of course, I don't walk around with my boxing gloves, but my boxing gloves are invisible. I feel like I'm fighting one fight after another fight, and then the boxing gloves just literally come out. And now the journey that what I'm advocating for, these are my boxing gloves. My boxing gloves today are my books. I just wrote a book called 30 Rights of Muslim Women, My Ultimate Boxing Gloves, because I feel that knowledge is extremely powerful. So my boxing gloves have taken many forms, and I'm passing the boxing gloves on to other women around the world and to people and men and boys, whoever wants to be in the fight.
Yeah, yeah, got it. And what are some common forms of resistance you have encountered when implementing change, and how have you addressed them?
Yeah. So I mean, I think that in my opinion, people don't want to change. Most people are happy with the way they are, and it's really hard to change people's beliefs because people are very set in their ways, and people react very strongly when they're asked to reconsider their opinions or their values. Because sometimes these values are so central to their identity, so they see it as a threat. So if I ask somebody to reconsider something, they just like jump at you, right?
Yeah.
And so it's important to also understand that even though a human being, that let's say you have interacted with somebody and you have finally got them to see their point of view, they may not be able to change because they have an entire community that they are part of that thinks differently. So they cannot completely change and then go back into their families who think a certain way, or go back into the communities who think a certain way. So understanding that people have sticky identities, in other words, they can't shake off that identity, whatever they have assumed about themselves, because there is a greater threat for them, because they have to be part of a larger community. So that is what you do. So the question is, how do you do this? How do you create the change? You have to bring the point of view that you want to share with the people from a source that they trust. So, for instance, I tell people you can't use New York Times with a white supremacist person. You have to show them something on Fox News, so they will say, "This is what Fox said," and then they will be much more open to listening to you because that is a credible source for them. So
Yeah.
this is how you do it.
Hmm. Got it.
Mm.
And also, what strategies do you use to inspire and mobilize others to join in your vision for change?
Yeah, so I think that most people, when you show people a new vision
Mm-hmm.
that is brimming with possibilities,
Mm.
then people get very excited. So I think that it's not just fighting against a cause, it's like creating a new vision. For instance, right now we're seeing this in America being played out.
Yeah.
We have one presidential candidate that talks about the past and how things are terrible and name calling everyone. And now we have a woman at the head of the ticket. And she's not talking about that at all. She's just talking about a new vision. And it's mobilized, the entire country is mobilized around her. This is Kamala Harris, who is talking about the future. She's not talking about the past. So that's what I mean by a future that is brimming with possibilities. Like, we won't go back, we'll go forward, right?
Yeah.
So I think that what I do is I like to involve people in this process and get input from everyone and collaborate with others so that people can take ownership of the vision, right? Once people take ownership of the vision, so for instance, when I tell people, I just wrote a book on 30 rights, I wrote the book, but I can't do anything by myself. I need you to take this book and I need you to be the messenger in the community. Now people are going, oh, yeah, that's a great vision. I really want to create that change. Now people are taking the book and now they're saying, okay, we're going to do a reading in our bit. Now I've just taken something that I believe in and I've mobilized others. And then also, I think another really great way to get people is to tell stories and highlight what success looks like. Like, I do a lot of work, social work, where there are real transformational changes, like in places like Afghanistan, where we taught an imam something and he went around and he, changed his viewpoint, his belief was changed, and that resulted in something incredible. Once you tell those kinds of successful stories, then people know that change is possible.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people will tell you, oh, it's not possible at all. It's never going to change. It's
Right.
never going to change. That's usually what people will tell you.
Right.
No, you say, no, it is going to change. But let me share real life examples of how this vision can come to fruition. But you have to join me on this journey. I can't do it by myself.
Yeah.
That is how you do.
Yeah, it happens within the organizations also. Like I am a certified master black belt in Lean Six Sigma, and we drive process improvement projects. And the first time when we do this as is process mapping, people say, no, many people have come here, they tried to change, but nothing has worked out. Then I said, no, it is possible to change as long as we have the right intent and as long as we are focusing on the end result, right? So resonate with your thoughts.
Yeah.
And this has been fabulous conversation so far, and it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement. Shall we do the second rapid fire?
Okay.
All right, here comes the first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
Change starts with you.
Change starts with you. Can you describe yourself in just one word?
Bold.
One book that everyone should read.
Their holy book.
Their holy book. Oh, wow. And a quote that inspires your work.
A condition of a people does not change unless they change what is in themselves.
Wow.
This is a quote from the Quran. I live by this quote.
No, this is so powerful, actually. And thanks for sharing that. And can you share a great piece of advice that you have ever received?
Well, it's not so much advice. This is more like somebody told me once that they were very impressed with me. They said, you're like a pistol, ready, shoot, fire. And the gentleman said to me, don't ever stop doing that.
Wow.
so I think so.
Love it. And here comes the last one for rapid fire round. Please complete this phrase 3 times. Never have I ever.
I think never have I ever completely been satisfied with the status quo. I've always been a rebel or the black sheep. Then the second one would be a second one would be, as a result of that, never have I ever been to shy away from any challenge, like the risk taker. And the third is really, I've never have I ever been afraid to dream big. I have big dreams, ambitious goals, and which continue to push me to break through all sorts of barriers.
Superb. I loved all the responses, and let's be back to the mainstream. So, Daisy, what advice do you have for emerging leaders looking to make a difference in their own communities?
I work with a lot of young people, and there's a lot of confusion in the minds of young people. And I tell young people that if they really are set out to change the world, first they have to change what is in themselves. Like, look inside, get to know who you are as a person and what is your mandate. Once you know that, then what is it, the change that you're trying to create? What are you trying to learn? What are you trying to invent? Learn that trade. And by that, I mean not go online and get information, because there's a difference between information and knowledge. And knowledge and know-how, and knowledge and experience is which will get you to places unimaginable. So even in my work, the social work that I do, I always do my research. That the books that I write, I do a tremendous amount of research. And where I am not adept, I look to others. So the second thing I tell people is, you're not. There are very few people who can achieve great things all alone by themselves. So if you're young, get a mentor who will show you the ways, the shortcuts, so that you can have a greater impact, because you don't have the experience. You may have some knowledge because you've done your research. You may not have the experience. Get a mentor, get a guide. If you can't, then collaborate with other people, because two minds are better than one. And always be adaptable, because landscape changes. Right now, things are always changing that are beyond your control. So be willing to adapt. Don't be stuck with your original strategy. So these are just some of the ways, some advice that I have for young people.
Superb. I loved all the insights that you have shared with our audience today. And thank you so much for joining me. And how is your experience being hosted on TGV, the Guiding Voice podcast?
Oh, I think this was wonderful. These are the kinds of conversations we should be having, right? More of, I think, because we want to learn from one another. We want to share with one another, because there's a lot of wisdom in each of us.
Yeah.
And if we impart that wisdom onto others, this is why, this kind of replaces the old family structure that we used to have. In the family, we would have elders that we would rely on. We had people who are the wise people. There was always that uncle, somebody else, an auntie. And we've lost that. And now people think they are relying on themselves, their phones, their internet. But you still need to get wisdom from those who have charted that course before.
Absolutely agree. And
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule and joining this. And look forward to hosting you and having many more conversations with you in future, Daisy.
Wonderful. Great. I look forward to coming back on your show. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Thank you.
Okay. Take
All right.
care. Bye-bye.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye.
So, friends, that was our episode with Daisy Khan. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. If you have enjoyed this episode and found the conversation useful, please share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV, the Guiding Voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now, let's hop into the trivia segment. And today's trivia is about some interesting facts about not-for-profits. You know, the oldest known charitable organization is the Order of St. John, and which is Knights Hospitaller, founded in the 11th century to provide medical care to pilgrims in the Holy Land. And second is about the concept of philanthropy, comes from the Greek word philos, which means loving, and anthropos, which means human, and the whole meaning is loving humanity. And third is about the term non-profit became widely used in the mid 20th century as the sector grew and diversified. So these are all the things from my side from trivia perspective. Likewise, if you know any interesting facts related to trivia, or if you know any leader who is transforming the community or transforming their own circles, okay, with their initiatives, do let me know about them. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome community. Folks, we'd love to hear from you. So do not hesitate to share your ideas, feedback, topic recommendations, and also guest speaker suggestions, either through social media, or you can also email us at theguidingvoiceforyou@gmail.com. 4 as in digit 4 and you as in letter U. Let's create content that resonates with you. I'm a host, Navin Samala, a lifelong learner, and my goal is to have impactful conversations that simplify and amplify your life's success. So until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all.